Recording in progress.
Good evening. This is the June 2025 meeting of the Chicago Computer Society's West Side Computer Club. Tonight we're going to have a substitute, me, instead of Sanford running the meeting. He volunteered for maiden flight of Elon Musk's ship to Mars. We don't know when he's going to return.
The stock went down. They don't have the money to return them now.
Well, I know that's and it's going to get worse because the government subsidies and contracts may get curtailed also.
Yeah.
Oh well, couldn't happen to a nicer pair of people. Tonight we have a little bit different. Ron Friedman will, sorry about that, will have a presentation. It's a second of about 6 or 7 that are going to change each month. And on top of that, I have a couple items that I will be putting in the chat for download as we get to them. They're primarily to institute some level of discussion, and especially this year in particular, there's a lot of folks that are having great difficulty with their budgets in trying to get some kind of a upgraded computer that'll handle Windows 11, or they haven't made a decision whether to jump to Linux or some other platform. And I'm giving out in examples of some entry-level machines, very low level, very inexpensive, relatively speaking, but don't expect normal operations because their resources are very low, but they give you some functionality. And one of them, those machines, is on this Zoom meeting right now. And that particular machine I will be showing a little bit information on is part of this discussion list that I'm going to create. The other one is something that everybody, including those on 10 that don't have any intention of either going to something like a Linux or Windows 11, something that every Windows user needs. And I've had it save me several times. So I got some details that'll be handed out to help people do their own thing. But it also depends upon the speed and resources of your system as to how long it's going to take. You're going to have a high-end gamer's machine to take only 5 or 10 minutes, and it's all set to go. On the other side of the coin, some of these real low-end machines, like we're going to try and discuss, might take many, many hours. I had something in between that took about 3 hours just to create what's called a recovery disk. But I've got all the instructions for that. So right now I'm going to open up the floor to questions and answers, and see if anybody's got any issues, problems, comments, news that some of us may not have heard yet. Floor is open.
One thing I would like to comment on is, at least for me, Zoom in its latest update is having some issues with audio, and it's not playing nicely with some audio drivers. And I have updated some of my drivers, and the effects are behaving differently.
Yes. I've had that. I've had just trying to use Zoom, and I finally got it to work. But we're talking at the 11th hour, 58th minute to get this thing Zoom working. Otherwise, we were going to have trouble tonight.
Yeah. What doesn't help in my case is I've been doing a lot of updating. I've done like 6 operating systems in 2 days.
Oh yeah, well, I've been doing a lot more, and I'm actually recovering from a crash. I had very unexpected results in a crash. I still don't know exactly what caused it, but I have recovered most everything with one exception that I know of right now. But that may be because of the condition of the drive that crashed is so screwed up. I don't have pictures that I had there, but most of them I don't care about. They could be trashed or they're already backed up somewhere, and so I'm not that worried about them. But I have been doing some forensic investigation into that drive to try and see other things and make sure I have copies of stuff off that drive that I can get just in case something should show up that I didn't expect. And I'm learning a lot and things I never did know before. And I've had crashes before. And you either restore a backup and take your losses, or you have no backup and you start from scratch because you didn't have a backup. So if you don't have backups, you got a big problem. But when you get into forensics of some of these problems, it gets quite interesting to try and find where is some of this stuff stored. Can I recover some of that if I want to try and actually be able to use it? And so far, like I say, the pictures is the only thing that I haven't been able to retrieve, but there's some serious corruption that occurred. I didn't do a last minute backup like I normally might do. Instead, I was doing a clone, and the clone somehow failed and really screwed thing up. Not only the original, but also the copies.
Mm.
It wiped out everything. I had to go back to another backup and use that and build forward, and I was able to recover most everything. So the only thing I'm hunting for now is pictures to see if I can find where they're located. I'm sure they're there, but the directory information is all hosed up.
Mm.
So we'll have to see how that one goes.
I was having trouble trying to get on, the last couple months, and I finally here did a reloaded my Windows 11.
Yeah,
I,
sometimes you got to
I,
do.
I downloaded the ISO and loaded it back on, and of course I didn't lose any of my programs or files, just Windows 11, and it
Yes,
seemed to work pretty good tonight.
that's an in-place upgrade. It's called,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's does allow you to save things. But if you took that ISO, put it onto a flash drive that bootable, uh, it would wipe out all your data and just do a clean install.
I used a DVD, external DVD drive.
Yeah, but you did it while the machine was running. That's how you
Yes,
saved everything. That's the in
yes.
place. You have to have a running machine. If your
Well,
machine,
I had that option when it came up to that, when it booted up,
right.
it gave the option of either saving or just doing a clean.
Yeah, the bad part is when it's external, where you're booting off the media, not off of a running Windows
Yeah.
system, that's when it
Yep.
wants to do a clean install. So you better have a backup of all your data and have some idea of what programs you have put on that you need, because you'll have to reinstall them.
Yeah.
That's the sad problem. Anybody else got any questions, problems, news?
Jim, how are things going for you?
I'm hanging in.
Just
I do have a couple of questions.
not allowed. You don't show up enough for that.
Well, it's been a busy year. Taxes ran long and other stuff got involved, and it's been quite an adventure.
Just
So
remember the old saying about death and taxes.
yeah. So I got basically two questions. So I bought a Windows 11 machine a year and a half ago. Every time I played with it, I ran into something that irritated me. So I didn't switch over to it. In the last week or so, I've been trying to make the transition. And I also got hung up a little bit with the Windows 365 stuff. So my two questions. First, are there any Outlook users here for email? At least one, two. Okay. So I can't stand the new version of Outlook. So, yay. All right, good. I'm in the right place. So right now, when I start up Outlook, it comes up in the new version and you have to click on help and then click on go back to the old one. Is there any way to make it so that when I start it up, it automatically goes into the new or to the old one?
I don't think so. I may be wrong. I don't use it, but I don't think so. It doesn't sound like something I've come across in my various research collections.
You're muted, Ron. You're muted, Ron. Ron, you're muted.
No. All right. Let's try this again. There are two versions of Outlook. You mentioned something about Microsoft 365. Do you have a Microsoft 365 subscription?
Yes.
Okay. So there's Outlook New and there's Outlook Classic. Now, were you used to using Outlook before and suddenly you got this thing called Outlook New, or is this the first time you've ever used Outlook?
I've been using Outlook for years,
Right.
and I used it primarily as a download or as the Office package.
Mhm.
But then about a year ago or a year and a half ago, I started using the Windows 365 or Windows Office 365.
Okay. So, Outlook New is nothing other than the web version of Outlook with a pretty package around it. So you are very limited as to the things that you may be used to doing in the desktop version of Outlook. So the desktop version of Outlook is, as I said, called Outlook Classic. If you look in your menu bar, when you click on Start and you scroll down to the letter O with all your O programs, you'll likely see Outlook, because you say you have it, but you also might see Outlook Classic. So that'd be the first thing to check. If you have Outlook Classic, that's what you want. That's most like everything you're used to from the old Outlook you've been using in the past.
I've got it. That works. Or at least it shows up. I thought I had looked there, but I hadn't looked there apparently.
So the other thing then, that's actually Outlook Classic is actually Outlook 365. So like you have Word 365, Excel 365. Outlook Classic is the desktop app, and it's Outlook 365. It's the full-blown desktop application with all the bells and whistles. Now, if you want that to normally be what you open, you have to get rid of the icons that you see on your taskbar, or maybe you have a shortcut on your desktop. Just delete those shortcuts and make a shortcut from the item that's in your start menu and put that wherever you need it. And when you start up Outlook, that's what you'll be starting. Not Outlook New, you'll be starting Outlook Classic. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending, if you look at when you start Outlook Classic in the upper right corner at the very top of the toolbars there, it'll say try new Outlook. Don't ever click that, because otherwise you're going back to the new Outlook. So you just ignore that, let it be, and stay in Outlook Classic, and it works well.
Cool.
Good
Excellent.
answer.
That's great. Thank you.
That's the first I've heard of that particular option available.
Actually, it's simpler than that. There's a toggle in, I believe it's the new Outlook, at least according to a support article. And when you fire it up, it may be in the new Outlook, but there will be a toggle in the lower right that allows you to switch back to the Outlook Classic. It's supposed to retain that setting.
So here's the problem with doing anything from Outlook New. Outlook New doesn't update like normal updates. It's updated dynamically from Microsoft anytime they darn well feel, and whatever changes you make may or may not be there, because it's basically the web version of, it's a universal Windows program, UWP program for from the Microsoft store, and it's just awful. Everyone I know that has ever used it for business hates it. It's actually a replacement from Microsoft Mail. So if you remember the old Microsoft Mail app, or what was before? Before Microsoft Mail, there was Outlook Light, Outlook Express. Okay, and just if you can avoid it, great. The other thing is, if you happen to turn your regular Outlook Classic into Outlook New with the toggle that's in Outlook Classic, because Microsoft wants you to try it, it will lose a lot of the connections that it had to, like PST files and your auto fill in, and you only have 30 days before all that connection information is lost. And once it's lost, you can't go back to Outlook Classic from Outlook New. So, as I say, if you can avoid it.
Yeah.
Ron, did you just freeze?
Yeah. You may be having a little bit of internet connection problem there, because occasionally we get a little bit of drop out of your voice as well.
Okay. Ron, you want to finish what you were saying?
I basically, I'm trying to figure out if it's okay. With Outlook New, now, so I don't know how far you caught my conversation with Outlook New. If you switch from Outlook New with the toggle that's in Outlook New to Outlook Classic, or you go from Outlook Classic to Outlook New, you have 30 days to go back if you don't like it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, all your connections in Outlook Classic are lost. So PST files and your auto naming, your connection to any global address list, it's just an awful thing. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
okay, great. Thanks.
If you don't like using the toggle, or you think it might not stay that way, there's a registry edit, and the steps are in the chat.
Aha.
Now, Jim, you said you had two problems. Have we discussed both, or do you still have the other one?
Well, I have one other one, but it may be associated with the first one. I'll tell you what it is, and then we'll see. So if I get I do my toggle or whatever to get back to Classic. So I'm in Outlook Classic, and I get a link, and I want to open that link. I normally use Firefox, and it typically works okay. But since I've been running on the Windows 11 machine, when I'm in Outlook Classic and I try to do one of the links, it puts me into Edge. So I went into the place where you set up the default applications, and it looks like you don't have what you had before, which was you could have a default browser. It looks like now you have to associate file types to an app. And there were at least 10, if not 15 or 16 file types. First, I went in and changed a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them. That didn't help. So I went back in and I changed every one of them. And I haven't had a chance to really test that out. Is that the only way you can set up a default browser now, is by file type? Or is there some other toggle in there that I can say, I want to set a default browser?
Well, I know from my own experience, if you have other browsers other than, say, the Edge, you can make them the default, and it switches the thing over accordingly. But Edge always is number 1 on 10 or 11. And therefore, if you use other browsers or you want a different browser just for the purposes of being the default, you go into that browser, and in settings, you'll find that there's a make default browser option, and that should solve your issue.
Yeah. In other words, you can go into settings and you have default apps that you can set. And one of those should be your browser. And unless Windows has messed with you, which it sometimes does on this, you do have the option to choose something other than Edge as your default browser.
That's
most links will then open in your selected browser.
That's a secondary way of also doing it, but I have found with Microsoft saying, hey, this is our product, this is the way we want you to do it, they're always changing things on you. You don't always notice them right away. That's why every time you have a monthly update, you got to go check some of your settings that you like to change. And one of them could be the default setting in apps. So if you go to System, Settings, Apps, second line is default applications. That's what Bob's referring to.
Mm-hmm.
You can try changing what browser is the default there, but sometimes it gets changed back by Microsoft. But
Yeah.
I haven't had
Here's the thing though. When I go into apps and click the line that says default apps,
right.
Okay.
I don't have the choice of browser.
Well, wait a minute. Are you in a standard account or in the administrator's account?
Oh, interesting.
Hey,
I think I'm probably in the administrator account.
Only the administrator can do certain things that a standard account cannot do.
Well, so from Firefox, if you're in Firefox, you should normally be able to say, Firefox, make me the default browser when you're in Firefox.
Right.
That is in the browser settings.
I was thinking about that.
Now, let's talk about Outlook, because the Outlook preview, if you're looking at Outlook emails, and if you have the preview site open or anything like that, it needs a browser in order to view the email. Guess what browser it's going to try and use? It's going to use Edge. So in Outlook Classic, don't ask me about Outlook New. In Outlook Classic, in the file menu, if you click the file menu and you go to the bottom where it says options, and then you go and you look at the left side navigation, it says general and mail and calendar. One of the options there is called advanced. And when you scroll down the advanced list, there's a section called file and browser preferences, and it says open hyperlinks from Outlook in, and you can say default browser, or you can be very specific as to what browser. Oh, no, you can't be very specific. You have to use Edge. So the only other option. So if you have a default browser set and your Outlook is set to use the default browser, your links should open up in the default. If it happens to be set to open up hyperlinks in Edge, the configuration within Outlook says that, then it's going to open up in Edge. So that's the other place you got to look. It isn't standard. So just try that and see if that solves your issue.
Okay.
So again, it's in the file menu. The very bottom of the left side navigation has options. You click on options. Those are your Outlook options. You look for the advanced section under Outlook options. There'll be a whole bunch of sections on the left-hand side again in the window that pops up. And then scroll down to File and Browser Preferences and choose Open Hyperlinks from Outlook in. And you should be able to choose the browser of choice.
Of course, I don't have that problem because I use Edge.
There you go. Now, there's another interesting thing in that very same section. So if you're on Microsoft 365, that means your account, your user account with Microsoft 365 has access to the web version of Word and the web version of Excel and the web version of PowerPoint. So if you don't want to have to open up, you're already in Outlook. You don't want to have to open up Word to just quickly look at a Word document that's in your email. You can open up those files directly in the web version. It isn't the full-blown version of them, but if you're just trying to see what it is, then you say, oh, yeah, I want this. You download it and you open it up in your regular Word file. So that's the other thing that's there. Kind of nice.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Now you have to attend at least the next 10 consecutive meetings. Anybody else got anything else they need to have solved or commented on? All right, then I'm going to turn the meeting over to Ron Friedman to do his next installment of basically what things you can do with your Windows 10 machine.
Yeah, this month's is session number 2 out of 5. We'll do this again. We're doing it this month. We'll do it next month. In June, we'll do it July. Let's see. No, this is June already. So we'll do it in July, August, and September. October, Windows 10 goes out the window if you want any further support from it. Detailed support on it. Today, the last meeting we talked about how to determine can your computer be upgraded, or do you have to migrate off it to go someplace else? In the most basic stance, no hacking, no tweaking, just like that. So that's what we're going to discuss today is the upgrade. All my reports, PC Health said, hey, you can upgrade. Bellark showed, hey, you can upgrade. We had all the different things. So we're going to say, hey, yeah, well, we're going to try upgrading. So between upgrading and last week, there's prep work. And I'm going to talk about the prep work to be ready to upgrade. So at the end of, oh, and this is a much shorter session than last time. So at the end of the last session, we talked about upgrading your OS to whatever it can do. You know, if Windows 10, the latest version you can possibly update your Windows 10 to, check out your app, make sure they're updated, make sure your drivers are all updated prior to the actual upgrade that you'll be doing, and we'll talk about in a couple months. So all those updates your system will be as sleek and shiny and slow as molasses because you got all these updates and it slows down your computer. So don't try and tweak them. Don't try and do too much with them. Just get the latest ones installed that are compatible with your system. The next thing that you might want to do is just verify the memory, because this is going to be a hard cost. If even though your computer may say, hey, yeah, PC Health says you can upgrade, but it only has 4 gigabytes of RAM because it's an older system. Yeah, maybe see if the RAM can be upgraded to 8 gigabytes or maybe even 16 gigabytes, depending on the machine. So that's the other thing you're going to want to look at. That's going to be an investment. There's going to be a cost investment in that to upgrade the RAM. There have been problems with 4 gigabyte systems that have shared RAM. They're sharing it with the video, and they don't like running Windows 11. It may be that Windows 11 even installed, but literally you can get your cappuccino maker out, prop up some coffee, some milk, some cream, go sit down, have a beignet in New Orleans, and come back, and your system will finally be booted up. So just be aware. Memory is probably the biggest thing that's going to help Windows 11 run better. So you may want to check that. The next thing is you're probably going to want to back up what you have. Now, I've done a lot of systems, and 90% of them, I don't need a backup. They just work. I didn't back them up. They did the upgrade like you expect. That's great. Another 5%. I probably should have backed them up, but it's going to be a little bit more process to get them upgraded. And then another 5% just say, you're not done. You're going to spend a lot of time trying to solve my problems here on the computer. I'm just going to sit here and laugh at you. And those are the ones we're not talking about. We really want that 90%. So there's a couple other things then you're going to want to buy if you don't have them already. One of them for backup is a backup drive. This happens to be, how big is this? This is a 500 gigabyte hard drive. It's not a solid state drive, it's a hard drive. And it's fine for the computers that I would probably do. You certainly don't want to have this drive here be smaller than the hard drive that you have on your computer, whether it be a laptop computer or a desktop computer, because you might have to back up everything more than once. You just want to have the room free on it. The other thing you want to do is you do not want to format this as NTFS. So don't make it too big. Don't make it more than 2 terabytes. You want to keep this as an NTFS. You want to keep this as an exFAT hard drive. And the reason for that is exFAT has no security on it. So when you copy files over to it, the security won't be there. You won't have to worry about, who the owner is, all that stuff. Your files will be available, but you don't have to worry about anything having to do with the security and permission levels of NTFS file systems. exFAT is one of the options when you format it. So whenever you get the drive, format it. Yes, Dennis?
Just to clarify, the drive that you want to use, it's not that it has to be bigger than the amount of space you're using on your hard drive. it has to be as big or bigger than the entire drive, whether it's being used or not.
Well, so I'll give you a qualified, at the price point these run, a 500 gigabyte and a 1 terabyte, I think they're within $10 of each other.
Mhm.
Okay.
So just kind of look at it that way. Or if you may have a whole bunch of these lying around that you don't mind getting rid of what's on them and just format them as expat. Let me show you that. In fact, I'm going to do it with this one here. Let me turn over to the other camera here. Right. Let me choose my other camera. Oh. There we good. All right. So here's my other camera. I just plugged this drive I showed you. I just plugged it in, and I'm going to open it up. I've got to find the right keyboard and mouse now. All right, so I'm going to open this up. Oh, there we go. And this happens to be the E drive. It opened up as an E drive on my PC here. And I'm just going to right click on it, and I'm going to choose format. And if you look at the file system, so this happens to be just under a terabyte drive. I thought it was only 500 gig. It's just under a terabyte. And I have two options. So if it's big enough, if the drive is big enough, it'll give you the option for either, it'll give you the option for exFAT, which is a 64-bit version, I think, of the FAT driver, or NTFS. And NTFS has security permissions and stuff. Just format it as exFAT. Delete everything on the drive. So just like any other time you format, make sure it's something that you don't mind losing. Okay. And if let's see, you might want to be in speaker view in order for that to appear. Not appearing in my speaker view. Even though I'm the speaker, that's interesting. Okay. I might not have myself set up to show in speaker. Hold on. Hide, change theme. Show meeting timers. Yeah, I may have to go back in. Before I go back to that, I will try and set up my other camera to make that camera be in speaker view. So anyway, my recommendation. The other thing you may want, and it's kind of been talked about a little bit, is you might want to have a USB drive, thumb drive, a flash drive, and have that available in case you're going to create an installer disk. Not actually to install, but to kind of like what you were talking about earlier, about having an external drive that has the ISO on it. You have the ISO on the thumb drive and be able to install from that in an in-place upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11. So those are the two things you may want to buy. Again, the physical disk. Undo this again. The physical disk, whether it be an SD drive or a spinning drive, is to back up all your content. I just like giving lots of space and not having to worry about it. There are different ways of backing up, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And that'll kind of go to your question: how big does the drive have to be? Okay. All right. The next thing that's important that you find out is know your local admin password. So a lot of people, when they put together their Windows 10 system, they use their Microsoft account. And that is not the local admin for your system. You are a local admin, but if perchance you upgrade to Windows 11 and your network card doesn't work anymore, your login may not work anymore in order to get you on as a local administrator. So find out your local administrator. So let me go back to this computer and ensure that that this computer will display as a, there we go. I'm two different computers running here and I have to know which one I'm running. There we go. So let's go. Meeting info reset to default. Nope, don't need any of that. Tim, off the top, do you know where to set up that when you are in speaker view that the screen pops up as
I've
the
got
speaker?
you myself in speaker view, and that's up in the upper.
Yeah, I've got that, but when I'm talking, I'm not in it. So what I need, because I shouldn't see myself in speaker view. Do you see me in your speaker view
I see
when I'm
you.
talking?
Yes.
Okay, so let me do something, and I'm on the big speaker view screen. All right, let me go to the camera again and see what my camera does, and see if it's the one going into speaker view. So is it going? Do you see my desktop?
I see the desktop. I see
Okay,
the
great.
desktop.
Then I'm sorry. I'm getting it. I don't have a second camera running here, or second computer running here, just running the event. So I apologize for looking like someone who has never done this before. Anyway, the local admin. So let me show you where local admin is. So in case you don't know, in settings and account, there we go. There's accounts. There is family and other users. And if I go down to other users, let me scroll down here. You'll see that there's a local administrator account. This one happens to be called RF-admin because I'm real clever at naming my things. But I created that even though my Microsoft account is the normal login for this computer. While I was in that account, I went and added someone else to this PC, which we see here. And when I did that, it gave me the option to put in a username and the password and the hint questions and add that user. And then it creates them as a local user or a standard user. And then I went back in to that new user I created and made that person an administrative user. How'd that work? If I'm here, so if I look at the account and I change the account type, I can use this new person I created can either be a standard user or administrator. Remember your password, make them an administrator, and if the computer fails to boot properly, you still have the local administrator account and can log in possibly as the administrator of the machine. Okay. The next thing, especially if you're getting really close to doing the update, turn off your antivirus. Antivirus likes to get in the middle of everything, and you don't want antivirus to be getting in the middle. So just turn it off. Uninstall it if you want. It may not work in the new version of Windows. So you can always install it later, or reinstall it. So not a problem. You're not out there trying to search the web for days on end between turning off the AV and doing the update. Because you've done you run OS updates, you run app updates, you run driver updates. Check every app, test them, make sure that they're working, make sure, you just refresh your memory as to how they work if you haven't used some of them in a while. But test the apps, especially the ones that you care about, and make sure that they're working after all these updates you've already done. And then we're not going to back up yet, but the next thing you want to do is determine what you want to back up. So you may want. So I have a very busy desktop. I my home machine, my home office machine, excuse me, has a little over 250 icons on the desktop, over 4 monitors. They're all nice and organized and everything. And every time my system loses its organization, it's chaos trying to put them all back together. But there's a lot of files on my desktop, and I probably want to there's shortcuts on my desktop. I probably want to have copies of those shortcuts. There are files and libraries that you may want to have in Windows 10. So you just want to note what those are. I have a pictures library. I have a media library. I have different things which are on my computer. I have downloads. I have all these different things on my computer that I may want to keep track of. You don't need to keep track of your recycle bin. I know people who use the recycle bin as their final filing space, and it's just filled forever. You don't need to do that. What else? You probably want to find out, where and what are all my bookmarks. Again, you don't have to make the copy yet, but you can, and you can put them on your desktop, or you can put them in a folder someplace. That way, all your browsers, you have all the bookmarks from all your browsers and whatever, because who knows what Microsoft's going to do to your browser when it updates. The other thing is, you may want to look at a folder, and it's a hidden folder on your computer. It's on your C drive, generally speaking, the app data folder. And that's where a lot of on your computer keep their configuration information. Now, you can look at it and go, I have no idea what any of this stuff is. Some of it's rather cryptic file names. So don't worry too much about it, but you might need to unhide the app data folder on your C drive. And by doing that, later on, you'll be able to look for information if you need it, if it comes up. All right. So you determine what you need to back up. The other thing you can do here is you can clear all your caches. You can clear all your temp folders, and you can clear out your recycle bin. Now, a lot of CCS members like to use the program CCleaner. CCleaner, C stands for crap. So it's the crap cleaner program. I think it's still from the company that publishes it. I think it's still Piriform, Piriform. And it helps you clean out anything that may not be needed. And it's a pretty good program. Usually doesn't delete. I haven't caught it deleting things I don't want deleted if I just take its default. Your mileage may vary. I don't know. Anyone want to comment on their experience with CCleaner?
CCleaner has a option in the near the bottom of the left column, and there you can change a bunch of settings that were recommended several times in various meetings. But one other one I want to add is regarding cookies. If you have on your machine access to bank accounts, financial institutions, even Zoom now wants a cookie. Otherwise, you got to revalidate yourself every time. In the cookies setting, you can say, move this cookie to a save area and do not remove that cookie. Otherwise, every cookie that's out there may get deleted. So there's about 5 or 6 different things that you can change and optimize CCleaner with.
Yeah. All right. So now that you've got everything, you know what you're going to back up. You've written it down or whatever. You have your PDF copy of your Bellark Advisor, or whatever other system inventory tool you used. You have all this information. The next step that I would take is to reboot your computer and make sure that it boots up properly. The thing after that you may want to do is wait 10 minutes or so after the reboot completes, and you log in and reboot one more time. That just makes sure that all the settings are working properly, and you can get in the computer, and it seems like you can get in reliably. So that's just kind of a double check. Your mileage may vary. You might like driving fast down side streets, or you might be the person who looks both ways 4 times at a stop sign. So whatever works for you, that works for me. So after rebooting a couple times, check your event logs. The event logs, your system event log and your application event log, over the last 24 hours. You rebooted a couple times. You've done things. You will want to wait at least 20 minutes after your last reboot to check your event logs. But just make note of the time, and then kind of go back a day's worth and just see if there's any weird critical pop-ups, warning pop-ups, or error pop-ups that happen in those 2 event logs over the last 24 hours. If there are, see if they look like they're serious. There are many event errors that pop up because they're supposed to. And it's, you'll just have to kind of make a determination. Something that's probably not supposed to happen is something that says your hard drive has errors on it. That's probably not a good sign. Or your memory has errors. Those are things which you probably want to fix before you try an update. Without getting into the gory details of reading event log tip. Don't be too scared by what's in there, because again, there's going to be warnings and critical events and errors that do pop up, and they're okay. So you've checked your event logs. Everything seems to be as good as it's going to get. Now's a good time to run a check disk. You can run this from the command line, chk dsk /f to fix any errors that are on the drive, if it found any. Because you've deleted a bunch of stuff, you've been doing some things. You want to be able to make sure that there's no dangling participles, as it were, for the different files which have been cleaned up. You want to make sure everything is clean on the drive configuration. And now comes the part. If you have a laptop that's relatively new, you may have BitLocker turned on, because it turns on automatically on certain size hard drives with certain CPUs, with certain editions of Windows 10. So if you're running Windows 10 Enterprise or Windows 10 Education, those versions, which are licensed differently than most other licenses, chances are BitLocker was automatically turned on. If you're using Windows Home, chances are there is no BitLocker. And if you're on Windows Pro, Windows 10 Pro, it may have been manually done. So on a laptop, you don't want people stealing the contents of your hard drive if your laptop gets stolen. They can't log in. If they try and remove the drive, they can't plug it into another system because it's been, well, they can plug it in, but they won't see anything because it's encrypted. The problem is you don't know what Windows 11 is going to do during the upgrade. So you want to turn that off. And depending on the speed of your system, I know there was talk a little bit earlier about, well, if you want to run something real fast, you got to have a gamer's PC that's all souped up, and it won't take quite as long. Well, it can take quite a long time if BitLocker is turned on to unlock BitLocker. And is BitLocker running on my system? If you ran BellArch Advisor, it will tell you that your drive has BitLocker turned on, and it may even tell you what the recovery key is. You do have to log in to undo BitLocker. You do have to be an administrator of the local machine. I don't know if you have to actually be the administrator that turned it on, it should give you all the information. That's another one of those passwords or keys that you will want to know, just like your local admin password. You'll want to know that. So you turn off BitLocker. The other thing is, some of us have turned on file compression across a drive partition or within a folder. You want to uncompress a partition and uncompress any folders, again, before deploying Windows 11, especially on the operating system drive. If you have two partitions, one's the operating system partition and one's just a plain old file partition, you don't have to worry about the file partition one, but you do have to worry about the operating system partition, because that's what you're upgrading is the operating system. Now, if you have compression on, especially on a partition, that means when you uncompress it, you need to have enough disk space left on your drive to uncompress it. Yes, you do. Beyond that, not much I can tell you about on that. I'm going to go back to my camera. Oh, don't want to do that. There we go. And go back to my ugly puss. Alrighty. Okay. So we're pretty much done. Anytime you're ready at this point, you can do a backup, and there's three kinds of backups. Windows 10, the Pro version up has the Windows 7 backup utility, which you can run that. You don't need any other software. It will run a backup. You can back up to your drive, and it will create an image file of your operating system drive, and you'll have all the files on it. What's nice about it, it's an image file of your drive. So when Windows 11 starts up perfectly fine, and you forgot that you needed to back up a certain file or some files that you want to recover that for some reason you didn't stay in place when you did the upgrade in place, you have the option of mounting this backup as an external drive, and it will just appear in Windows as yet another drive letter, and you can find your files and do it. It doesn't boot. It's not bootable, but it's as if it were another drive. It's a Windows image file. They'll have an extension WIM. Another option is you can do a hardware clone, especially like if you have a desktop computer. It's harder to get a hard drive in a laptop. If you're into it, go for it. It might be a hard drive. If it's an older one, it might be a spinning disk, or it might be an SD drive. If you have one of the old desktop or laptop style spinning disk drive, this one is a Hitachi Desk Star, also known as the Death Star because they crap out. You can get one of these. Now, this happens to be a 4-port duplicator. It actually clones, without connecting up to any computer, it will clone one hard drive, one hard drive to another hard drive. It clones it sector by sector. So so as long as the second drive is bigger than the original drive, it will copy everything exactly in the exact same spaces that it was. So in this case, I can plug this drive. There we go. I can plug this drive in here. Here we go. This drive in here, and I can plug a second drive down here and get a complete clone, one drive the other. It takes an hour, 2 hours, depending on how big it is. But you don't have to be hooked up to another computer. You just walk away and go. So you can buy one of those. Number of companies make them. StarTech makes I found it to be a reliable one, but there are many companies. They're all manufactured overseas, and the last of the inventory is still here on the shore, so there won't be any tariffs on it. So that's a hardware clone. And that way, if something happens to your original during the upgrade, or you forgot something or whatever, or you just can't remember where it was, you can always plug in the cloned drive and try and find it. You can do a search on it. This, by the way, can hook up to your computer as well. Can hook up to your computer as well via USB. So it becomes like an external USB drive, and you can find files on it that you want. So what you're looking now, that device, there's two different versions of this style device. So this one happens to be 4-port. You can get 2-port ones, but you want one that can clone the hard drive. You're not looking for a docking station for hard drives. You're looking for one that will clone or duplicate, is the other word that they often call it, duplicate a hard drive. That's what you're looking for here. They have the same thing for SD, SSDs. They have the same thing for SSDs. Obviously, not quite as big. And the last thing, if you're like me, I told you, I think index cards are still great technology, and I'm a cheapskate. There are free cloning software where you can clone from your hard drive that's on your computer and running right now, Windows 10, to an external USB drive. Probably the one that's been around the longest that I know of is Clonezilla. And Clonezilla will, you have to learn it. It's another piece of software. It doesn't just, it's not just a button you can press and go. But Clonezilla will do a complete copy of one drive. Now, I shouldn't use one drive because one drive is a product, of your local drive to another drive so that everything that was on it is there. And so that's another option too. So once you have the clone or backup, you could just back up your files, drag and drop. You can't do that with programs or anything like that. Because, there are some programs, the programs that don't install that run in their own native, you can copy those over, but anything that installs in the program files or program files.x86, you're just copying them isn't going to really help you too much. You'll need to reinstall those if you have to. But remember, 90 to 95%, just Windows 11 just rolls over and works like fine. Someone once told me that it might be a good idea, especially to have a wireless keyboard and mouse, to just go to Goodwill or Salvation Army and get a used USB keyboard and mouse. Because sometimes the driver for the wireless mouse doesn't work. Well, at least you have a good cheapo USB keyboard and mouse that you can use in an emergency. That's it. Any questions?
I've got comments. I hope I can remember some of this stuff. In memory, my absolute minimum recommendation is 8 gigabytes.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you want more than that. And there are some odd sizes that a lot of machines, especially laptops, will take. For example, they usually have two modules. You could have an 8 gig module and a 4 gig module. It gives you 12 gigs altogether. Or you can have two 8s, you got 16, and so on and so forth. But you may also, in some of the older machines, need a BIOS upgrade. And that scares the heck out of most people because of horror stories of the past where you could really trash your system. Now, as far as you said backup with the Windows that's built into 10 and 11 is Windows 7 version unchanged. It does not do any verification. It may say it successfully backed up your machine, but when you need it, it may not be valid backup. It's up to you to validate manually that that backup occurred. And Microsoft, since 2019, says don't use that tool, period. Even if it's included, don't use it. When it comes to some of the other things, like you brought up Clonezilla, which is a good, but it's a command line type tool. There's also RescueZilla, and it will do the same kind of backup in a graphical interface, but when it's done backing up, there's a button there for verify. And if you click on the verify, it'll verify whether that backup image is good to go. Other backup software, much of it that's modern software has an option for automatically verifying the backup as soon as the backup is done with no manual intervention. But there are a few that you have to do, like RescueZilla. You have to manually initiate the verification. But at least you can go to sleep knowing that if I got to have that backup restored, it's going to be there, it's going to be good, it's going to be golden. And a couple of programs would be Macro Reflect. There is still the free 8 version out there. It works just fine. I use it along with the paid version on other machines. Also, EasyS to do backup has a free version, and that's a pretty good one too. There are some tutorials out there by Ask Leo that will give you a video and a article type document on how to use both of those pieces of software.
Yeah, I'm as you talk about secondary products, other products, every time I've used an EASys product, I cannot tell you how well their products seem to work. Yeah, I know they're just a front end mostly to other people's utilities, but very solid. I've done partitions with EASys products. The backup that you talked about is very good. So yeah, if you have concerns and you're looking at these names and have no idea what one's okay, I've had good luck with EASys products, so I tend to, if it's something I'm looking for and they have it, I tend to try theirs out first. So you're talking about testing a Windows 7 backup to know that it works, and I have found that the easiest way to do that, it makes a WIM file, is to mount the WIM file on the Windows 10 device that you just made the backup of, and see if you can see all the file structure and everything is there, because that's where it fails. It doesn't have a file structure. It doesn't, it can't load the WIM. If there's anything wrong with the WIM, it won't load as an image. So that's a quick way of testing it, even though it's not automated. It's way back on Windows 7, so.
Ron? Ron.
Yeah.
Is there any advantage to make an extra backup if BitLocker is off of the user's folder in the C drive to find a lot of files that may get were placed in there that you didn't know they are?
Oh, yeah.
It's another backup, an extra backup, we'll say.
I'm looking here. I mentioned to myself that, oh yeah, don't forget the profiles folders if they're on your operating system drive. Yes, I would say, if it's more than one person, just backing up the entire profiles folder. All your users will be in it, including your default user, which may have a bunch of stuff in it too that you need. No harm, no foul. Having a backup of that. Certainly, if you're doing cloning, it's going to be part of the clone because it's taking the entire partition. Actually, probably taking the entire drive, depending on what kind of cloning you're doing. If you're just doing a backup for backup sake, just make sure that's one of the folders that's checked off.
I will add there. You got to understand there are some hidden files on the system. You have to make sure your file explorer is set to display the hidden files in users area. In each user, you have app data that's broken down into 3 sections, and that normally does not show up unless you have the Explorer set to show the hidden files. And part of the problem that I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting and that I had experienced, that's one area I've been exploring heavily. It contains normally everything that each user saves in documents, in music, in pictures, in video, but there are also some other things in the app image, app data, in a couple of the areas there that have information you may need in a critical situation. Mm-hmm. And because the applications are saving stuff in that area. So that's another factor about users folder in Windows.
Another area that is used widely now, but even in Windows 10, is OneDrive.
Yeah.
And normal backup probably wouldn't take OneDrive stuff.
No, it does not.
Plus, there's nothing in it. The local drive that's syncing OneDrive, it's empty. It's all cloud.
Well, but what about backing up your files that are in the cloud?
You don't need to, because when you start Windows 11, you'll connect up to OneDrive and you'll be right there.
Right. It's a case where they don't make a real provision for backing it up. They, as a data center, back you up, and hopefully you have an option there that if something goes wrong, they can restore a prior backup.
Tim, I'd like to correct you on something.
Go ahead.
The data centers, like for OneDrive and they don't back up any of your stuff. None of your, it might be replicated, but it's not backed up. They do not have the capacity to back up anything. It's all live, and pray to God, they can't revert back to a prior setting for you. It's not, so it's a replication, but it's not a backup. We've got hit with this on a couple of times where people have had their OneDrive gone, and there's no recovery to when OneDrive disappears. It's just gone.
Well, is there any? I mean, you can download your OneDrive stuff back to your desktop, maybe, but is there anybody who backs up whatever's in the OneDrive?
So you talk about, and I can think of a good case where you'd want to back up what's in OneDrive. You're about ready to tell Microsoft to go take a leap, and you're going to go use Google Docs instead, Google Drive. So you want to take everything, you want to have a copy of everything you have up in OneDrive, and so you do want to copy it down. But as a general course of backup, you would have to have another space someplace that you can back up to. I wouldn't necessarily say back up to your, you can back up to 1 terabyte of information on OneDrive if you have a basic Microsoft 365 plan. Well, some people's hard drives are 1 terabyte. So I'm not sure how much you can back up. I'm not sure that's what you'd want to be doing as part of this process. So as a separate question about backing up OneDrive, I'd say, yeah, that's something that you can do, but it's not necessary for Windows 11 update. In fact, I know people who take their files and they put them up in OneDrive so that when they're doing the update, they don't lose anything that's on their computer.
Mm-hmm. They hope.
They hope, right?
Anybody else got anything? A couple things I do want to try and see if I can share my desktop and show you a couple odds and ends. I got gremlins here.
I thought those were cats.
Yeah, like I said, gremlins. Now, one of them, here's CCleaner, and I'll briefly just go over this quickly. If you come down to options, you come up to settings. I turn this from health check to the custom clean. This is like it originally was before they created this health check. Health check to me makes you go through more hoops and more time. So I always change it to that. Cookies. What I'm talking about is these are currently live cookies on my system. And okay. And if I have Zoom out here, which I don't have, I would highlight it, hit this arrow here. These are the saved cookies. Everything over here, CCleaner will eliminate, because many of these are third-party cookies that track anything and everything you do on the internet, and then they sell that information to make money off of you. Next thing is Smart Clean. I turn that off. As this was a recommendation by a reputable person, and it's I haven't been hurt yet. I don't mess with the users. Updates, I turn that all off because the way I update the software is through Patch My PC, and it will automatically, once a month, update my software, including CCleaner. Advanced, I may turn this one on most of the time on most of my systems. What happens is when you're done doing the custom clean, as soon as it's done, it closes the program. If this is not checked, it leaves it up there and you have to close the program. Another one is privacy. I normally uncheck everything here. I don't want any of the privacy settings that they're offering, especially these two last ones. So that's briefly how I do that. I then go into tools, and one of the main things that I can use is the uninstaller of any software. You have to be the administrator, otherwise a lot of times it will not uninstall the software. I go to startup to verify what it sees as startup programs. Again, you have to be an administrator to disable or to delete. You have to take that into consideration. Then I also sometimes get into some of these other tools, but those are the two primary ones I deal with. Registry, it supposedly goes through and does some cleanup, but all the registry programs out there, they don't want to have bad press and people upset galore. So all they do is remove unused entries in the registry, which amounts to next to nothing. So it's not worth using. And then I don't use their software updater. I use Patch My PC. I don't use their driver update program. I use other alternatives. Now Windows Update, especially in 11, is giving a lot of the updates you may need to drivers. And then I go to the custom as the last thing. I hit analyze, and once it's done analyzing, I hit run the cleaner, and when it's all done, it will take and close the program automatically. The other thing that I wanted to point out was when I go to Windows settings, if you come down to privacy, and you got to do this from the administrator's login, not from a standard, there will be one option under here that's about encryption. This is where BitLocker is. And if it says it's turned on, you can turn it off. It will take a while for it to unencrypt everything on your drive. Then you can turn it back on if you wish to, but I leave it off because it causes me other problems as I go along. And that gives you another option there of where to go to turn BitLocker off or find out if it's even turned on. If you don't see the third entry for encryption, then you probably don't have BitLocker at all on the system. Therefore, there's nothing to worry about. It's not automatically encrypted. But laptops frequently have it turned on even in home, so that if your a laptop is stolen, they have to have the necessary passwords to properly log in, because if they take the drive out, it's all encrypted. It won't do them any good. So passwords, even for logins, are very important. Okay. Anybody else got any conversations about Ron's presentation? Okay, hearing none. Let's see if I can destroy something here. I'm usually pretty good at that. Let's see here. Okay, now I've got the file. I'm gonna be putting a file in chat, and this will be our first discussion point. Okay, I sent it out. You should be able to download it and open it up to look at it. What it is, and I'll be sharing it on screen, I hope. Let me grab my copy and do an open of that. And I want to share my screen, I hope, with that document. And let's see if I can screw something up here. Okay. I did a preamble up here. This is examples only. I did some research on eBay. the purpose of this exercise is to say, hey, if you're got a budget problem, seriously, that you can't go out and get a new machine or something like that, there's a way of possibly around it to minimize such an expenditure. And so I give you a little bit of information there. And these are all items I found out on eBay that are low-end machines. And as you can see, I also have some notes that qualify some things. Some of these machines, everything's soldered in. You can't change anything. I mean, you cannot change the CPU. You cannot change the amount of memory that's in the machine. You cannot change the storage. And some of these have a minimum of 64 gigabytes. If you were to do an upgrade, let's say 25H2 was out and you wanted to upgrade to it, odds are you're not going to have enough space on your system, even if you never saved information out on the disk deliberately and you did thorough cleanups with utilities to get rid of any and all garbage that is out on your system that's no longer relevant to you. Well, there's a one out on that, and quite often what it will allow you to do is plug in an external device. Do not use a USB flash drive, please. They are so slow. They are the replacements for old floppy drives, for optical drives, zip drives, jazz drives. Have a USB to SATA drive adapter and have a 2.5-inch SATA drive that you're not using, or you can pick up dirt cheap off of eBay, a used one even, as small as 32 gigabytes. Plug that in and it's going to be a happy camper to do that upgrade for you. And when you're done, you just disconnect that USB connected SSD drive, and you can use it for any other purpose in the future. Just remember to keep a lot of space available on it for future upgrades. And there are some other things here that I'm noting. Some of them may have in here, they're not going to be available anymore. That's okay. Understand that, because some of these are auction items and some of these are buy it now items. Even some of the buy now items may no longer be available. You can take this description line here and do a search on eBay for that specific item and see if any other people are offering it. It may be at a different price. It may have a shipping and handling charge that the one I had here did not have. And always, your state sales tax is applied to the purchase. Now, one of these machines in here under Lenovo, and this is kind of almost like a funny joke. I would not buy this myself, to be honest. But as a tech that helps other people out, I have quite often been given items by people. And right now I am on a system. If you're looking, take a look. I'm out on there twice. One is CCS, a Zoom CCS, and I'm also out there as Tim.K. And I want you to look at that one there. This is the camera of a Lenovo machine, an 81 UV, originally created in 2020. And I'm gonna stop the share that I got going right now and start up a share here. Bring up the desktop. And here is my machine. And I actually am using it. Even though this thing is almost a joke in the sense that it's a laptop. It's a low-powered processor. It has 4 gigs of memory you cannot change. It has a 64 gigabyte storage drive. I have not determined whether this is a low-end SATA or a eMMC type drive, but I'm not that worried about it. I'm going to bring up here settings, and I'm going to go to, come on, see, this thing is not that fast. I got to minimize what I can do because there's a limit how many things you can do at one time. So I'm going to go to System, and I'm going to go all the way down to About. Come on. Be nice. There we go. Okay, storage. Usable storage is 58 gigabytes. It's currently using 49 out of 58. That's why I say to do a 25H2 upgrade, you got to have external SSD to really get you over the hump. The graphics card, it says it's got 512 megabytes. It's using shared memory wherever needed. It has 4 gigs of RAM, unchangeable. It's using a Celeron N4020, which they created in 2019. And 1 year later, when this machine was built, they used it. It's 2-core only, but it has hyper-threading, so it looks like 4. It's just not as good as 4 real cores. And this shows you additional information. And it's a Celeron, 4 gigs, and 64-bit operating system, and it's running 11 home, which I wouldn't expect Pro to begin with. So it's a usable tool, and it has a good battery life. Right now, this thing's been on a good part of the day, and I have more than half the battery still left, 63%. And so it's, and that's with some of my tuning and tweaking on this thing to get even better performance than you would otherwise see. So this gets you in this list that I created an opportunity, if budget is a problem, to take and get your foot in the door so that when 10 goes out of business, you can at least keep going securely in mind on a cheap system like this. What happened here is an older brother of mine had a situation where he knows a lot of people, and we're all older, and some of his friends have passed away, and their family don't know what to do with the computer, so they turned them over to him. He called me, and I got 2 Chromebooks that are identical, and I got this Lenovo laptop, which at first I wasn't even touching the darn thing, and I finally decided, well, let's see what this turkey has and see if it can be made usable. And I could take this thing and I could back it up completely with a verified image backup. I could then take the whole system and install any version of Linux on it, and it would probably perform a lot better, even though that 4 gigs of memory is a handicap. uh, the Linux will run much better than this Windows 11 will. So I thought I would share this with all of you and let you know what's I had in mind with this discussion list. So I open up the floor right now and ask, does anybody have any talk points on what I'm presenting here? Hello? This is supposed to be for discussion. Go ahead.
I can say that I see what you're talking about, and that scares me. I would not get anything that bad.
Well, no, they've always produced systems like this. I found in my inventory of all the machines I've got, somebody gave me a Windows 10 laptop. This has a 14-inch screen on the Lenovo here. The other one is, I think, an Asus, and it's a 15.6 screen. But it too only has 4 gigs. You can't change, but it does have changeable storage. But it's a case where, generally speaking, these machines are classified entry level machines for people who may not have ever used a computer before. And it gives them something to start with. But this also gives people who have a tight budget that right now don't seem to see an avenue to get off of 10 to something else they will accept. This gives them something that might be viable because everything that was on that list is under $200. And most of them can be had for probably $100 or less. So it is an option, not necessarily for anybody who's at this meeting right now, but it may be an option for a lot of people that might view this video and get some ideas from all these series of you're a Windows 10 user, you don't see any options right now. What other ideas are out there as options? This is one of them. Any further discussion on these?
Well, I understand the options, yes. I know the machine I have and I'm using right now will not go to 11, and it's much more powerful than that, but it just doesn't have the ability to do 11.
Well, yes and no. You're partially right, partially wrong. The laptop you've got is a AMD A series processor. I don't remember which number it was. The best of the A series processors from AMD were a equivalent of a Core i3 processor at best, and not much better than that. If you changed from a spinning hard drive to an SSD, you would make significant gains, but that's as far as it would go. This processor is much newer, and the newer processors have more horsepower than you think and lower what's called idle speed. I found that one of the systems I was looking at of mine, I couldn't believe it. A lot of them have an idle speed of 800 megahertz when they're not doing anything but sitting there. But I found one that went down to 425 megahertz. These lower end speeds for idle speed saves the battery primarily in laptops. So you get more out of your laptop battery charge than you otherwise would, unless you are using a lot of software that's constantly increasing the frequencies of the CPU automatically, and that'll still chew up your battery quickly. Any? You gotta be kidding me. We're almost done, and Terry's coming out. Terry, you can go back to sleep. We're almost done. Now the other document that I gotta download that in the chat. And it is how to make a recovery drive. And let's see if I can get this out there. Okay, that document is out there in the wild. You can download that. And I'm going to open up mine. And again, I'm going to go to share. I'm going to do that. And whoop, the heck. Oh, I'll reshare that. Oh, you're gonna. Well, I gotta close that one down. All right. And we'll close that. As you can see, this isn't a real big one. There's 2 articles in here to refer to on Windows 10 or 11, how to create a recovery drive. You have to have a 16 gigabyte flash drive or SSD drive as the minimum size. You are going to need to keep this drive in perpetuity. It's recommended a minimum of every year to make a new version of the recovery drive, because it not only takes what version of Windows you have installed, it also collects the updates you have installed. Terry, mute your mic. Offhand, that means that if you have to use it to reinstall, you'll at least have the updates as of the date you did make the recovery drive. With one proviso, you cannot keep anything currently on the drive. It will erase everything and do a clean install with the updates as of the date of that recovery drive. How often can you make this? Like I said, annually at minimum, but you may also do it twice a year, like every 6 months, or quarterly, every 3 months. I wouldn't go beyond that. Everything depends upon the horsepower of your machine. This includes your internal drive that it's creating the recovery drive for, but also the speed of the drive that's going to be the recovery drive. So if you use a flash drive, it's going to take longer. If you use an SSD, it takes less time. As an example, I did have a 16 gigabyte flash drive, and I had a 16 gigabyte SSD that came out of an old Chromebook. And I did the recovery drive creation twice. And the first one to the USB flash drive took around 3 hours. On the SSD on the same machine, it took about a third of the time. That's how much of a difference you can have just in the media you are backing up to. Never make system backups onto a flash drive. Always a spinning hard drive, because quite often it's faster than the flash drive. And also you want to have or an SSD. But if you're spinning hard drive, there's a caveat there. It depends on the port you're plugging into. Always do your best to plug your backup drive into a USB 3 port. If you can and have available a USB 3.2 Gen 2 port, use that, because even with a spinning hard drive as the backup drive, the transfer rate will go faster than in a USB 3.0 or 3.1 drive port. If you have a Thunderbolt 3 or a Thunderbolt 4 and the proper device, you can go even faster still. USB 4, which is only on the newest machines, have faster throughput rates. So you want to try and avoid, and a lot of the old systems only had USB 2 ports. It's going to be slower no matter what you use, but a SSD drive in a USB 2 port will still be faster than a flash drive. And if you use a flash drive in a higher speed port, go out and get the newer USB flash drives that have the higher speeds that will give you the best performance on those higher speed ports. There are a lot of flash drives now that have at least a 10 gigabyte rating instead of the old 5 gigabit per second rating of USB 3/3.1 drives. Then I give you a little bit additional information. Like I said, down below is the machine I did this twice on. And the processor is a obsolete i5 6th gen 35 watt processor that's comparable to a laptop performance in the CPU. 16 gigs installed, a 250 gigabyte SATA 3 SSD drive being backed up. I had the SATA drives in for another purpose. It normally would have a NVMe drive in it. It has 11 Pro 23H2 running on it. Ports are 3.0 and 3.1. And a flash drive of 16 gigabytes minimum took over 3 hours. The same thing with a 16 gigabyte SSD, 1/3 the time. So it gives you a little bit of a comparison. And I keep these drives. Depending on the number of machines and type of machines you have, you may have to have more than one recovery drive. But if, say, all your machines are Windows 10 or Windows 11, now you can have probably one drive that'll do most everything you want when needed, but not everything. It depends on what you need to do. If you have both 10 and 11 like I do, you got to have a recovery drive for the 10. You got to have also for 11. Some of the machine characteristics might say you have to have multiples of one for certain machine types to be able to be covered. It's a way of recovering a sick system, especially one that doesn't want to boot up for you. And this gives you then a potential environment in which you might be able to do through command line screen a copy of your data files to another external drive and save that information that otherwise might not be savable by any other means, unless you're familiar with Linux. Linux, you can use a Linux drive called a live drive, and you can recover almost anything that isn't corrupted. But that's always true when you're trying to do recovery after a bad crash. So the only thing you have to understand is what is a crash. If it's a software crash like I had recently, you might be able to recover part or all of your data files. If, on the other hand, the controller in the drive died, or a head crash on a spinning hard drive, you may lose part or everything that's on that drive. The controller circuitry, if it fails, it's gone. You can't retrieve anything. The only way you could retrieve it is you happen to have an identical drive that is working. You back up its content completely and verified that it's a good backup. You then remove the controller circuit from that drive and put it in place of the failed controller on the drive that failed on you. And you might get one shot at backing up everything on that drive. And then you cannot trust that drive thereafter. You got to replace it. Any other comments? Any ideas as to how to get around some of these issues that have been brought up tonight? Remember, we're trying to help out people that may be between a rock and a hard place, and they got to make some decisions. And if there's a lot of people that are resistant to learning new things, and that's why they don't like Windows, because they're constantly coming out with new stuff all the time. Well, guess what? All the operating systems do. Otherwise, they become obsolete and useless to anybody and everybody. So bottom line is, change is inevitable. It's called evolution. Just like us coming from the plains of Africa and caves. A little bit has changed since then, in case any of you haven't observed it. Anybody got any other comments?
There's a lot of articles in news stuff that talk about all the different devices we've had from the 70s and on. And you get to look at the pictures of phones, pictures of kitchen gadgets, whatever else. And we've certainly had a lot of movement and change in society. And this is just another one of those things.
That's right. You either fighting this stuff is an absolute waste of time and your emotions getting all upset, because nothing you say or do is going to change much of anything. And so you got to roll with the punches, period. Otherwise, what you got to do is learn how to be a systems programmer, make your own operating system, make your own programs, or get the source code for open source programs, compile them to make them work with your version of an operating system, and go on from there.
You know, on the TV, you've got, on my cable, you've got HSN selling computers all the time. And most of what they sell is so underpowered, it's kind of criminal because they're selling a 4 gigabyte memory, and maybe they go up to 128 hard drive, but they're basically S mode. And they're making people think that this is just, everything that'll move them up to Windows 11.
Well, that's a very good point. But here's the thing. Even when I went through eBay looking for this stuff and what I put in that handout, it's a case where you have to understand the specifications enough to know what you're buying. If you're out to buy a new car, do you just look at the car and say, that's what I want, and know nothing about the car? You may be buying a lemon of something that you didn't want, and you're going to take the losses.
Well, the salesmen on an HSN program, are there for hours telling you how wonderful it is. And it has lots of features. Might be a touchscreen, all kinds, widescreen, all kinds of things, but it doesn't have much power, which is what the issue is.
Yes.
But if all you're going to do is go to a browser, maybe for $400 or less, it's maybe okay.
Well, actually, without a touch screen, you can go probably down to 300 and maybe 400 with the touch screen. But again, you have to understand the beast. You got to know some of the specifications to understand what am I buying in the first place. It's like knowing what kind of an engine, how many cylinders it has, cubic inches. Does it have an automatic transmission, a manual transmission? Does it have air conditioning or no air conditioning?
But more than that, when people don't understand what S mode it means, so that if they have to load one program, maybe Zoom or something, that isn't already built in, you can't do it until you switch S mode off. And they're using S mode as the concept of security, which it really isn't anyway.
That's correct on S mode. In the Microsoft Store, you can get information how to turn that off. And once you turn it off, it becomes 11 home. Now I can put anything I want to on it, and I don't care where it came from unless I'm concerned about piracy, malware, or some other privacy issues, reporting what I do back to somebody I don't want to have that information.
Or the program you want takes won't fit into 4 megabyte or gigabyte memory.
Well, that's true too, but you have to understand, Windows always has been, as you load up the program that you want to run, it automatically puts stuff into the page file. And that's a secondary storage outside of the main memory. That makes things slower, and then it keeps swapping things in and out. That slows overall performance because you're limited in the amount of real RAM memory. But that Lenovo with 4 gigs of memory, Windows 11 S was on it. It's now Windows 11 Home. And I put what I want to on it. It all works. It's just slow and limiting in how many programs I can have going. But I've got Zoom on it. You saw me display what's in there. So there are ways around it. It's also a level of knowledge and willingness to learn and do research. When you run into a brick wall, you can cry about your bloody nose and do nothing, or you can start researching it online to find answers as to why it happened and maybe alternative ways of dealing with the problem. Sometimes that means you got to change programs. The program you want to use isn't going to work there. So are there alternatives I might be able to use so I can get things done the way I want to get it done?
Well, then that's like, the web versions of products like Outlook New or even Excel or Word that are just available in the cloud, really, but
Yes.
you're running it on a little computer.
Right. and that'll work too. Whether it's the free version or the paid version of 365, that will work because it's in the cloud and most of the resources are not being taxed on your system.
There are also many of those web versions don't have many features
True,
of the product.
true. But bottom line is something beats nothing. And having no real options that are out there as satisfactory, well, then you're going to end up with nothing.
By the way, you guys were talking about S Mode and Zoom. Actually, the Zoom app is available in the Microsoft Store, so you could still stay in S Mode.
Yeah, I remembered that, but I didn't want to necessarily mess with it. But Zoom is available in the Microsoft Store, so it should work on the S Mode. It's just S Mode is very, very limiting, and part of it is to try and make it also available for students besides security. And unfortunately, most of the kids are smarter than the adults who gave them the S mode computer, and they know how to shut it off and make it into a normal computer.
Yeah. The other thing is, if you want is something that's low powered and you aren't going to do terribly many things with it, certainly a Chromebook would suffice.
That's another option that I'll be bringing up too. Like I say, I've got two of these Lenovo that I didn't pay for them. They're still a live machine. But the thing is, what I do is my computers are not all in one spot. It's physically impossible. About a third of the house have my computers scattered all over the place. And so sometimes when I'm working on a computer in one area, I may not have the ability to access some information I need to use on that computer, maybe to fix something or make it do what I want to do. And so the end result is one of these cheap Lenovo laptops and or the Chromebooks, they have good battery life. Take it with you to that machine, look up the document, do what you want. I even have run Copilot on these and a couple other AIs. So they work and I can get my answers. I can now fix that computer or make it do what I intended to have it do and was fighting me. Fine. I won because I didn't give up. Too many people want to give up and or they don't want to learn, and that's impossible. The human being wouldn't be where we are today unless we keep learning throughout our lifetime and sharing that information as much as possible with other people.
Tim?
Yeah.
Oops. Where's my thing? Can I go back to the recovery disk for a minute?
Why?
Two questions.
Oh,
The way it sounds on some of the stuff I was looking at, if I want to use the recovery disk to repair Windows,
right.
there's a set of tools or something on this disk
Yes.
that I have to learn how to use,
Yes.
right?
That's correct. 100%.
Oh, okay. So that's stuff. I not only have to build the disk, I have to figure out how to use the tools.
The tool, primary tool, is very much like on your regular Windows computers 10 and 11. It shows that startup screen where it says troubleshooting and turn off your PC at minimum. And if you go to troubleshoot, you might have an advanced option. You got startup repair, command processor. UEFI settings, restore point settings, next startup settings, etc. You do
Okay.
have to learn those, but you should already have learned those since they've been out in 10 for most of its life.
Some of us haven't.
Sorry.
So this may be an opportunity to learn that stuff. Okay, understood. Second question. If I use the repair tool to repair Windows, will all of my application software, um, my Office, well, not necessarily Office, let's say I've got some other kind of software that I have loaded and used, will that automatically work, or will I have to reload applications because I now have a version of Windows?
Well, that's what I was trying to allude to, and maybe I did a lousy job, but that screen you got to learn how to use. When it first comes up, the first option is reset the PC. That
Okay.
is the court of last resort. Do not do that unless you have a solid backup of your computer, because it is a clean install only. It has a customized, what's called a Wim install option. It actually has 3 of them, and only one of them applies to your particular machine's installation. And it runs that, and it puts a copy of whatever Windows operating system you have on that recovery disk back on, and any updates as of the date you made the recovery drive. Anything on that internal drive of your computer, kiss it goodbye. Now, if you have cloud accounts like MS 365, Adobe's stuff, and a lot of others that are up in the cloud, it does nothing to them. You just have to set them up to reconnect to your account all over again. So you better have all your account information, both the URL, your account name, your password, any security information, etc., that may be required to get back in.
Okay.
Outside of that, generally speaking, it does certain repairs without doing the draconian way of getting it repaired. That's what the tool set is for. One of the first things you would probably do is go into troubleshooting and run the startup repair, and it may come back saying, "Okay, fixed it. Go ahead." Otherwise, it may say, "I couldn't fix it." Now you got to learn how to use the other tools, and most of the other tools, they're not as desirable or friendly. But one of the ones is do a restore point of a essential or non-essential security update, because it captures the registry and a lot of the settings in the restore point, and it may make your system that's real sick well again, but you'll have to go back into your Windows update, run that again to replace what you took out. That's a little trick. There are, in the command line, several tools. SFC /scan now will check for bad program corrupted files that are essential to booting your computer up. If it says, "I found no integrity violation," you're good as gold. It should boot up. So it may be something in the UEFI or the master boot record that's causing your problem. But you cannot run DISM in there. So if the SFC comes back saying, I found some problems, I repaired them. You cannot rely upon that being the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. As soon as you can, you got to get out of that, get the system booted up if at all possible, go into a terminal, and you have to run a command line of DISM and other parameters there, and it will restore your health of your machine completely.
Of course, you want to be patient doing all these things because you don't want to interrupt it and bail out while it's in the middle.
Well, I mean, bottom line is usually you're using these tools because you're not in the middle of something already, unless it was a real bad situation, in which case you got to pray the application that you are running is either in the cloud, or B, it has a periodic save of some of the information, not all of it, but some of the information saved out to disk, and you can recover from the error, then go back into that application, and you may be able to recover up to a certain point and then have to continue on from there, rethinking whatever it was that didn't get saved.
Okay, thanks.
It's a headache, but the biggest problem is too many people only save their data, thinking, big deal. I lose the operating system and all the installed programs. What the heck? We'll just reinstall everything and go from there. That can take you anywhere between 4 hours and 2 days to get that done, assuming you can remember all the programs you have to reinstall and then put your data back on. And in the meantime, while you're down, you cannot be doing any productive work. Not on that computer anyway. You have to have a secondary computer. And when I'm helping people remotely, I like to have 2 computers at their end so that I can both talk to them, because phone batteries die too quickly. And at the same time, too, I can get into their machine and see if I can do some of my magic. So it's
Okay.
it's a real headache when you're talking about how to recover from a situation. All the situations are not the same. Therefore, the answers are not all the same. And yes, there is a lot of learning to be done. I post lots and lots of articles galore every month. And these are contain a lot of the knowledge. Some of them are videos, some of them are written articles, some have both. And they pass on this information. It takes practice to get good at it. So until you can do it often enough to remember it without referring to that documentation or video, I don't know what else to tell you. Computers are the most complicated, sophisticated tool man has made so far. That comes with a penalty, and it's called learning.
Yep.
But it also keeps the mind active. And if you're really a computer user or enthusiast, etc., keeping your mind agile is a plus. It might stave off dementia or Alzheimer's. Not a guarantee, but I do know that some of the doctors who treat people with strokes want them to use a computer at least to learn how to play games, because it works the mind, and they start trying to learn how to adapt to their situation.
Well, I have 3 backup computers in addition to my main computer. So
Only 3?
yeah, well,
Only 3?
That's all I can
I've
handle.
lost
I'm getting
track of
old.
mine. It's somewhere in excess of 4 dozen. But I use them as learning tools. Most of them,
Yeah.
you have primaries, you may have multiple secondaries, but in general, most of them are there as a learning tool, experimental. If I want to try out a new version of Linux, okay, grab one of those other machines and play to my heart's content. That's what they're there for.
Yep.
And now with all the changes between 10 and 11 on security, that means I got a lot of machines that can be all easily converted over to Linux without any issue. In fact, I've already done several of the laptops.
All right.
Anybody
Thanks.
got anything else?
I'm good.
Did anybody get anything out of this meeting?
I thought there was some very
Yep.
interesting
Yep.
stuff about both backup and preparing for Windows 11. Even
Yep.
though I've already done Windows 11 up through 24H2, there still was information that had I known it then, I would have been able to make use of it.
Well, you never know. See, that's the thing. Learning process, you may be picking up information about something you don't even have an interest in right now, and and 2 months from now, all of a sudden, you need that information. Are you going to remember that you came across that information? What was it? Can I find it again and use it? Well, with some of the information I dispense, you should have a copy. As long as you got a copy, you can search through those copies and see if you can find that article and learn from it. You can't think of just what I want and or need the current moment. Most of what I publish, some of it is interest to me. The majority of it is not. It's stuff that other people using computers may be interested in or have need of for one reason or another. I'll be posting sometime between tonight and tomorrow another more FYI. I got another one ready for next week and a third one in process. But
Thank you.
the only people that get the more FYIs are members. And what did you have, Tom?
I said thank you.
Okay. Dennis, you show up at times. You got to be careful. And I want to stress this to everybody. If you're not talking at a given moment, turn your mics off to mute them, because the slightest little sound triggers the recording software, bringing up your image.
My fault for coughing.
I'm just telling you offhand, if you don't need it, turn the mic off. I mean, I gotta watch it with a phone ring or one of my cats giving me a serenade, causing that kind of a problem. Now, the last word I had, Sanford ought to be back next Tuesday for the tips and tricks SIG. Offhand, hang on 1 second here. Let's see. On the 17th, we'll have the South Suburban Computer Club meeting. On the 19th is the Northwest Computer Club with Ed Keating. And on the 24th, we'll have the Linux SIG. And if you want, you can come and see what Linux is like. Not that you're necessarily going to do it, but at least you might be able to see the Linux beast that you're avoiding, and see that you might be able to live with it if you really are pushed to it, because it's no cost as long as you got your Windows 10 machine. And there are options that will be covered in coming months on how to run Linux without disturbing your Windows 10 machine at all until you're ready. Okay? Anybody got any last minute words? Hearing none, I will call it a night.